Welcome to the Multifamily Zone, where business meets family. We explore what the entrepreneur life looks like from the family perspective. Now here are your hosts, Julia and Gino Barbaro.
Hey everyone, this is Julia Barbaro, host of the Multifamily Zone podcast. I'm here with the co-founder of Jake and Gino, my husband, and the co-host, Gino Barbaro. Gino, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Julia. One of my favorite topics.
I know, I'm having a hard one with this one. I'm having a hard time.
Well, I've been conditioned since birth to always be thinking about money and what money can do for you. And my views on money have transformed, have changed as I've grown, as I've become an adult. So I want to go through how to start teaching children about money, and not just teaching them about 401ks and about what to do with your money, but really what money is, how money can transform and how money can help, and how to use money and how to create money, and how the wealthy think and how the middle class think, and just really start with a basic foundation of what that looks like.
Yeah. It's when you were saying that, it's also important to remember that, we are the kids' first teachers, and they're looking at us as the example. So our view of money is definitely going to roll over to them. So especially if we have a different view, right? If you have a different view and I have a different view, that does cause an issue with them because they're not sure where, who to trust.
My first question, this is for my wife, and then I'm going to answer it. And I want you out there, get a pen and paper, write down this question and really ponder it and think about it. To you, what is money?
Okay, so to me, what it is now, I see all the good you could do with it. I see freedom, not even the buying of the stuff. It's just the freedom of being able to, I love doing good things for people, whether it's as simple as just buying someone dinner or, just those little things. To me, that brings a lot of happiness and joy. So to be able to do that, to say, to say to my daughter, hey, you know what, your friend's here from college, bring her out to dinner. And she knows that that's okay because, we're financially okay right now. And I want her to, enjoy that.
So money to me is not what it was 20 years ago. Money to me now is a vehicle for freedom. It also just takes a lot of pressure off for me. I've joked about it with my wife. I can share a couple of stories. A few years ago, maybe not that long ago, and this is a running joke with me and my daughter Veronica. You're struggling. You're doing okay, but you have the bills. We're doing fine, but still, the bills pile up, and we got to go to the dentist's office. My wife gets a dental bill, and she wants to do some work on her teeth. I remember getting the bill and going, and this is Veronica loves the story. I look at it, I go, I'm not paying for that, right? It was just like such a jerk thing to say and to do. But I was under pressure with money. I was overwhelmed. There's another one of those bills where, well, there goes the profit for the month. And I was thinking the short term. And the only thing that money has allowed me to do right now is to do whatever my family needs. I can provide it for them without thinking about it. And it's not that I didn't want to spend the money on my wife. I had the idea of having that scarcity mindset of saying, I need to save this money and I need to use it for something else. Whereas right now, that's what we're supposed to use that money for something, not just to hoard it and to put it away. I was obviously trying to save and to buy assets at the time. The business was slower, but now I see money as the vehicle to providing happiness. If you need something like dental work, or you need something where it can provide for your family, that's what I want to use the money for. To me, it's all about the freedom and being able to not be overwhelmed by bills and saying, another example today, Lily, I love Lily clothes. They had their pre-annual sale. I went out, we spent a little bit extra money because I can do that. I don't have to stress about it. So I'll work harder for that to provide for my family and to give them the enjoyment and the comfort to do that. And I don't have to stress about it. So that is what money for me is. It's allowed me to enjoy things in life that I couldn't afford doing back then. And now that as I gather more money, it's not just to be able to hoard it, but to be able to give it, to be able to help people with it. And, when people come on vacation, I can pay for the vacation. I can do certain things that I wasn't able to do. When I go out to dinner, I always pay for the check, but now it's not that how much that check, or kids, we can't order steak tonight, it's chicken. I don't have to worry about it as much. And it's just a lot less stressful for me. Now, me and my wife, we have different takes on it because it was never her main concern about where the bills were going to get paid. She knew, she had faith in me. We were always able to pay that, but doing that little extra, it means a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
The next question, what is your response? What do you think about this thought? Having a lot of money will make me happy.
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Okay. So for me, and this is how I've always been, and I still am now. Having nice stuff is fun. It brings some happiness in a sense, but I actually don't need it because I am a happy person in general for the things that I have that didn't cost the money. You know what I mean? I know my husband's, one of the joke we had was I used to say, kids don't really cost money to have a child. Technically, you don't really need to can breastfeed. You can, the whole thing. You don't really need baby food. So it was a kind of a joke in the beginning, but I never looked at money as you needed it to be happy because I found happiness in life, and that's something important that I do. We with the kids, we do talk about it because it's important that they do find happiness without having to have a lot of money, or even just to be having that security of money. The security does bring the freedom, but how can you be happy without it? We know many people in religious communities with absolutely nothing, and they are the most joyful people I've ever met.
Why?
Because they have faith.
Because they are going towards their sole purpose,
right.
which is actually doing God's work, right. or what there is. They know what their identity is. Right. Their identities are a child of God.
Exactly.
So money, but they still need money. Priest told me, no margin, no mission. Yeah. They're not the ones out there driving the money, but money is still needed. Exactly. Donations are needed, right. from people like us and from others out there that can provide for them. But ultimately, money can't buy happiness.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, one of my mentors said, poverty can't buy anything. So I don't want you out there saying, well, I don't want money because I can't be pious, or it's not good. It's going to turn me into a bad person. The only thing that money does, it accentuates the person that you are.
Yeah, I think it brings out the real you, right?
If you're a good person, it'll make you an even better person.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a jerk, watch out. So, make money matter. That's what my mentor said also. He said, make it matter. It's all up to you what you do with your money. And if you're looking at it from, I guess, a religious perspective, I think we're all stewards of our money. So I am very mindful of where my money goes. So when my wife sent that bill to me, I'm like, I'm not paying for that. I'm like, well, I have to be a steward of my money. I'm trying to talk
about how we react to our spouses. If you want, we're going to go there right now. We can.
I just keep.
He's come a long way. I just want to tell everyone. So all the stories that we tell from how we used to be, it's very comical to us because we both grown so much.
So money is not the cause; it's the result for me. And when I was working for my W-2 job, it was always the result. I work at the end of the week. I make money. I do it again. That's the result. Now with Jake and Gino and with coaching and all, I'm not really thinking about the end result of how much money we made. I'm thinking about how many people we serve, and the more people we serve, ironically enough, the more money you make. So it's like inverted. So it's not really focusing on the money. It's focusing on the value and focusing on delivering quality to people. And the more you can do that, the money will show up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Next one is for parents and for younger people. What are your feelings about saving?
I didn't know you were going to ask this question. I don't even know.
So this is a tough one. For children who are young, I think one of the bad things we can do is tell them, let's put money in the bank, and not give them like an idea of what that's for, because it's almost like you want to teach them that delaying the gratification is an important part. I want to get into that. But if you're telling a child, I'm going to take the money away, you're almost as if you're penalizing them by having them save. So when they get to be adults, they're like, subconsciously, Mom took away that money to put in the bank. Well, let's explain to them why. And it might take several years. And the perfect example I'm going to give to you, and I've said it several times, is my son with his amplifier. I kept him telling them to save. Now, my children all have a substantial amount of money in the bank, because after their confirmations, after the communions, money goes there. And I show it to them. And I say, that's part of your net worth. You're doing really excellent. And with my son, he had that delayed gratification. He had the money in there. I didn't let him buy it. real estate deal came by, and he had the money saved up in his savings account, and I let him invest in our deal. And now he's getting monthly returns, sometimes quarterly, because we're still working on the property. Mm-hmm. But now he understands why we saved. And it's not just for a rainy day. You're saving for an investment. Mm-hmm. You're saving to buy something. And that's why if you can link those two together, that saving doesn't equal pain, and saving, you're not squirreling your way just for the rainy day, but for other opportunities. That's what's important. I like to use credit, but I like to pay off credit right away. If my children say, let's buy a couch, we need to save money for that couch. I'm not going out and I'm not going into debt to buy a doodad, as I like to tell my children. So it's important. The saving component is really important as you get older, because there's a reason why you're saving. You're not just saving just to save, but you have to teach them, what are we saving for? And I always like to tell them I'm saving to buy an asset. And I don't really like, we're going to get right into the wealthy and middle class. You know, the middle class, as we're middle class, I was taught to save for an event. You save for college, you save for retirement. What happens when your daughter's college or your son's college is over? That savings is gone. But if you buy an asset like a home or a dividend yielding stock, and you can pay it from the distributions of that asset, when that event is over, you still have that asset. That asset is still appreciating and still producing. So that's one of the big mind shifts that I had between being a middle class person and a wealthy person.
Yeah, you know, I do have to say that you've done really, really well as showing the children, you know, this is the money you're going to put in the bank. Let's go to the bank together. Here's your bank account number. And you kind of, you know, you're teaching them the whole process from the beginning. It's not like you were saying before, maybe early on you did, but you would just take the money, I'm going to put this in the bank. You actually brought them through the whole process of learning where it's going exactly. Because a lot of times, what does that mean? It's in the bank. Is it really sitting there? No, if someone else is using it, right? So, you know what I mean?
And let them know that someone else is using your money, but you're making something for that money. They're taking your money and they're paying you for your money. But at the same time, that bank is actually utilizing that money to make money on top of that. That might be a conversation for a little bit higher age student, but that's just called the velocity of money. Once you realize that money is energy, and if you can explain to them how much money gets circulated around the world, money is so plentiful.
But don't you also, when you're putting it in the bank, don't you give them a percentage to buy something with?
The children?
If they're putting $100 in, don't you say, you know, why don't you take $20 and put it toward whatever you're looking to buy?
What we used to do, we worked really well when I was more in the cash business. I would have different buckets. I would want them to put 10% for saving, 10% for charity. I would do 30% for buying a doodad, and I would break it down into that. That's a really good way for them to see, usually when they're younger, in little buckets. I would have little clear buckets, and they'd stuff their money in there, and then I would like them to see that. And then it's great, because when we would go down Little Friars, they'd bring their money, they'd donate their money, so they could see, you know, as their money is growing. And that's the cool thing of having a savings account, because day one you might have $3, but day 180 you might have $100, and you've seen that growing, and it's growing in front of your eyes. And that's the important thing. That's the powerful thing. If they can see that their money is growing and it's doing something, that's the thing. And when they want to go out and buy something, it's more empowering for them to use their own money, and they can think of, you know what, this is a really important point. I want to jump into this, but this is a great way for kids to understand the value of money and decision making. That couch over there can cost $500. If your child is making $10 an hour, how many hours do they need to work to buy that couch? They're going to need to work 50 hours. So if my son is, you know, bussing tables and he's making $10 an hour, and he wants to buy a video game, and the video game costs $50, he has to work a whole entire shift to buy that video game. Now he can make the decision: is it worth working a whole shift or 50 hours for a couch, or isn't it? That will definitely turn on the light bulb for them and say, wow, I either need to make more money, or I can't afford to buy this thing, and it's not worth working 50 hours to buy a couch, or should I buy a less expensive couch? So that's a great way to lock it in, to make them see the value of what they're buying and having them make decisions. And I think empowering a child and letting him make his or her own decision is awesome for them, because it sets them up later on in life to make those decisions. Where's the value? Maybe the 50-hour couch that you're spending is better because it's going to last a lot longer. Maybe that video game that costs $50 instead of $10 is a lot more fun. You're going to get a lot more value from it. So it's not only just the what the cost is, but what the value that you're going to derive from buying that product. And if you can log in the number of hours that you need to buy something, that's so easy for a child to conceptualize, because my son knows at the end of a 6-hour shift, he's worked really hard for that. And was it worth to buy that video game for it? So I think that's a way that you should start teaching children. You like that?
I do. I'm learning a lot.
You're learning a lot. So, difference between middle class and wealthy. This is very important, everybody, because this is the shift that I think everyone needs to think of. Wealthy people buy assets. Middle class people buy liabilities. Very simple. Tell your child is an asset is anything that puts money into your pocket. Very simple. I mean, that's from Rich Dad and Poor Dad. A house that we're living in technically is an asset to a banker, but to a business person, it is not. Even if you have no mortgage, you still have property taxes, you still have electric, you still have to pay for the pool, you still have landscaping, you still have the hot water heater breaking. It's still money coming out of your pocket. So technically it's not an asset. The liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. So the important thing, middle class people produce goods, services, they produce value. I'm sorry, wealthy people do that. Middle class people consume. So the wealthy produce these things. They produce value. The middle class consumes. I want to mention something that I found the other day when I was reading a book. It's called the Diderot effect, and it's really powerful. And I know we all do it. And I'm looking at buying a car right now. The Diderot effect basically says that when you're out and you're buying consumption, you're buying something, you go to a store. I'm looking to buy a suit. I buy the suit. Now all of a sudden, what do you need? You need a pair of shoes with that. You need a tie with that. You need an overcoat with that. That is the Diderot effect. All of a sudden, that overconsumption. From buying one thing, you're buying three things. Be careful when you have a salaried job and you get a raise. What's your first inclination? You want to reward yourself. You should reward yourself. But if you've got a $10,000 raise, maybe reward yourself with something $500 and put that extra $9,500 away somewhere else. That's not our inclination, but that is the delayed gratification that's going to lead to your financial freedom and to greater success, because it's not the money that's the issue. Julia can tell you every day, we hear it. When I make a little more money, I'll get this. It's never when I'll make a little more money. It's when you have control of your spending habits and your saving habits and having this wealthy mindset of not being just a consumer, of being a producer. That's powerful.
You know, a lot of us feel like once you make more money, I'm going to buy all these things, and you have a kind of a list of, I can't wait to buy all this stuff because then everything will be better. You know, if the guy next door has a better house, I'm going to buy that house when he's done with it. And you know what I mean? And then you're going to be fulfilled. You get there and it's like, yeah, this is not, okay, maybe the next guy's house. Maybe when I get that house, and it will just keep going. And that's, always my thought is like, well, why can't we just be satisfied, and not satisfied in a sense where you don't want to keep making more money, but to be happy with your life in a sense where it's fulfilling.
And it's hard, Julie, because you don't want to be defined by your possessions. I think a lot of us are defined by our possessions, and it's great. It makes you feel great in the short term, but in the long term, that's not what leads to ultimate success. I mean, we can go into the 6 fundamental human needs, but let's go to the 5th and 6th one. They're the greater needs. When you're contributing to other people and you're helping other people, that's where ultimate satisfaction and success comes to. And when you're growing as a person. So the way you grow as a person is you learn more. In business, you learn more skills, you learn how to add more value, and you reach more people. So that, and ultimately, which is ironic, like I said, the more you do that and the better you get at doing that, the more money you're going to make. And that's the thing. You don't really work for money. I always say profit is the fuel. It's not the destination. I don't work just for money anymore. Now that I'm financially free, quote unquote, my wife thought I'd be retired. We'd come down to the beach and all. And that's part of it. That's successful, but that's not really fulfilling. And that gets to be boring after a while. You're not engaged and you just don't feel like you're doing anything. So at the end of the day, you're not just working for money, you're working for something greater. You want to be known for something greater. And I think that contribution factor where you're contributing your time, your resources really lends to a lot of fun. We're going to a religious community tomorrow. We want to start doing cooking classes for them. That's a way for me to do it. I can do that because I can take a couple hours out of my day because I don't have to be working. My schedule allows me to do that. So that's one way we can give back. So just don't always think about creating the money, but creating value for others. I want to talk about how we become and break this effect from the Diderot effect. How do we break that effect of, I've got this purchase I want to do. How do I continue to make these purchases? How do I break that effect? Because it's important, because you can get caught in this downward spiral of this consumption, and consumption leads to debt, and debt ultimately, leads to slavery. That's the modern form of slavery. If you don't understand the difference between business debt and personal debt, that is the root cause of a lot of issues that we have. When you have so much personal debt, you don't have the ability to make those choices. And that's one thing that people feel trapped. When we talk to people who, when we're coaching, you can see people who they don't have options. They don't feel empowered because they've got to pay their student debt off, or they've got a huge mortgage, or they've got car payments, or they've got all these different payments, credit card payments. They don't have the option to say, I'm leaving my job or I'm relocating, because they can't do that. And one of the things in life, that's when you feel trapped.
Right.
That's what you don't want to go. So I want to run through these 5 steps on how to break the effect. The first one is, Julia, become aware.
Yeah.
Right.
That's to me the most important one, because when you become aware, then you could say, okay, wait a second, do I need this? And it's important too, when the kids are with you shopping, when they come with us, yes, we do get more stuff.
Whew.
Okay.
I don't bring them to Costco, that's for sure. $450 Costco bill becomes $800. So it's fun. I'm not going to lie to you. It's fun, and we eat everything anyway, but yes.
But it's important also to explain. And that's, to just say no, or be that person that, maybe you're on the phone and the kid's throwing stuff in the cart. Cause I've seen that before too. Mother doesn't even know what's in there. She comes home, who knows what the bill is. She doesn't even know. So to be aware of your purchases.
So the next one is analyze the cost of future purchases. Like I just said to you, teach your children what things really cost. And when you tell them it's cost $50 or $50, to them, doesn't make any sense. But if you tell them I had to work all week to buy this, that makes total sense.
Well, not even just your kids, but your spouse. If he's lucky that I'm not a spender. But
she keeps saying that, but you should see the credit card bill for the last couple of years. That's
Amazon is so easy. Come on.
You see, and that's part of
I don't have to go to the store.
And that's part of the
more.
Yes, but that's part of the ditto effect.
Yes.
Amazon and Jeff Bezos is a perfect example of someone who created value, made it very easy to be a consumer, very simple to do that. He's producing the product and you were consuming it. So just be careful. Yeah. Be aware of that.
Right.
Maybe you put a credit card bill and you make an allowance of only $500 a month being spent to Amazon. Becoming aware of that when you hit your limit is really important.
But this is important. This is what I'm trying to make a point is with a couple, because most of the time it's usually one of us is very strict with the money, very cautious, and the other one is a super spender, and that can cause a lot of tension. And so the kids see that, and one of them's going to go one way, the other one's going to go the other way. So it's really important to have that meeting, that family time to talk about it and kind of, compromise and be on the same page.
The next one is avoid unnecessary new purchases. When you need a new car, when you need new clothes, when you need a new desk. Avoid the new purchases. Go online if you can and try to save. Try to go to eBay, try to go to Let Go, see if you can buy something pre-owned. I'll never buy a brand new car ever again. I'll always buy something that's pre-owned with a year or two on it because I can buy it at a discount. Do I need a new car right now? No. So even though I have money in the bank, just be aware of that. I'm always trying to redeploy my money or have a cash position that if an opportunity does come, I can deploy that. But at the same time, I want to enjoy my money at the same time. So there's got to be a balance between that.
And that's important, the balance. And the question is, do we need this right now as a family? You can say.
The next one, Julie, you can tackle this. You are not your possessions. When I make more money, everything will be okay.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit before. And it's such a common situation where I hear it from a lot of people. When I become financially free, I can do all these things. And my question is, well, tell me about those things. And most of them can be done right now, because most of them actually don't take any money. It's all time. And so is that an excuse that we're making? A lot of people want to volunteer. So go ahead, go volunteer. You could do that any day. You can do that right now. You can call someone on the phone and say, okay, I want to start volunteering tomorrow. That's a decision we make. And I feel like that when this happens, when I make more money, everything will be okay, is our excuse to say, I don't want to right now.
I love that. Yes. Yeah. The next one is create a savings plan to take away the excesses. So, and I am not an advocate of a 401k plan, but if you have an employer plan and they're matching it for you, I guess you can do that. I just don't like putting money aside and not being able to access it for the next 20 or 30 years. That opportunity cost for me is too great as an investor. But I don't know what your certain situation is, so I would definitely consult with the CPA or with an financial advisor. The most of them are going to push you towards that product. I don't like it. My son had the revelation a couple of weeks ago when he's actually taking college courses, and he said to me, he's the teacher, obviously, with the personal finance, started talking about the 401ks, and my son sat there, and I had spoken to him about it. He's like, Dad, I don't want to be rich in 40 years. I want to be rich tomorrow. And I was like, he gets it, because that opportunity cost of putting that money in that plan the money's tax deferred. I get it. You're growing your money tax deferred. But when you take that money out at 65, when you can ultimately retire, and that's a different mindset. Do you want to retire at 65? I don't want to. But even when you do, you have this lump sum in there. It's going to be taxed differently. When you want to gift it to your family members, it's going to be taxed onerously. So if you have to create a savings plan and you don't want to use a 401k and you get a check, just have 10% of that money get diverted from your check into what I would call a financial freedom account. So your check is less of that money and try to live off of that. That's an important thing to do. That will show you that you'll be able to save money, and you're always saving for an investment. That's what you're saving for. You're saving for an investment or for an opportunity. I have a few things here that I think we should share about how do we start teaching kids with our money. And in our next podcast, we're going to dive deeper into this. But for this one right now, there's two books I think everyone should start out with. I think basic financial education is The Richest Man in Babylon. That is an awesome book, talking about the 7 laws and the 5 rules, the golden rules and the laws. Those are just amazing. Any child who's 13, 14, 15 years old can start understanding the concepts. And the second book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I mean, that is the genesis. I've had so many people tell me that book is the why. It's not the how to invest, but it's the why investing. That will open up your mind to things you've never thought of, things that were controversial 10, 15 years ago. Your home is not an asset. Well, we found that after the Great Recession, that Robert Kiyosaki was right. And it's a simple book to read. And it's just a book to open up your child's mind to different strategies and different ways of looking at money. So the first thing I think of when we start teaching kids about money is let's really focus on that instant gratification. It's one of the hardest things. And they've done tons of studies on this, that if you can delay gratification, you'll be a much happier person. And when we talk about multifamily, it's hard because you have to delay the gratification. For you to set up a business, you need to actually start taking action today. You need to do education. You need to invest in a property, and you may not see a return for a few months. It's not like buying a single family home, fixing it up, rehabbing it, and flipping it. That's a shorter process. Multifamily might take a little bit longer. It might take you 18 months to get that property repositioned and then refinanced out or sold. So it's a longer process. So for delaying the instant gratification, it's great because you're able to save that money and say, I don't need the product today. I don't have to rush today to buy something. I can delay it. So
that's actually important with the kids because, you know, the typical kid wants it right now. But the question is too, is we do the same thing. And so we always blame the kids. Yes. Oh, they want it now. You know, they're giving me a hard time. And eventually when they do get it, it's kind of sits in the garage. It's like, wait, remember you gave me a hard time for all those months and now you use it a couple times. But the question is, we do that, don't we? So, you know, I challenge you to look around your house and look at all the things you've bought in the past year, 2 years, 3 years that you needed. You needed so bad and you wanted to get them right away. How many times you just put them aside and you forgot about them? You know, they were so important to you, but now you're, you know, it really wasn't. So that's a good lesson to look back and, you know, so the next purchase you could say, okay, do I really need this? Or is it just something that's exciting that I'm going to purchase?
I like to buy things that are exciting to purchase. The next one is talk about what money is and why we work for it, right? I wrote it down here. Anything of value that serves as a medium of exchange is what money basically is. Let me repeat that again. Anything of value that serves as a medium of exchange. That's what money is. So I always tell my children that I'm working to pay the bills. I'm working for a better life. I'm working to provide. That's what I'm working for. And now I'm also working for something higher, right? I'm working to help others out in their journey. When my wife became a life coach, she didn't need to do that for money, but it's so much fun to help other people out. So that's another form. So if you can show your children that you love what you do and you can couple that with getting paid, I think they're going to be way ahead of the average person. Going out, going to college, getting a degree, and then getting a job. So, you know, be a role model in that aspect of it. I think the next step, Julie, is just, we already talked about it, define what assets and liabilities are. That's going to be really powerful. Once they understand that concept, well, I can buy something that takes money out of my pocket, like buying a car. A car also is an asset. You may need it to drive to work. So obviously that's one thing. But if you don't, it really is a liability because there's car insurance, there's gas, there's keep up on the car. So it can technically also be a liability.
Well, that's important. You know, if you're at the stage where your kids need a car or, you know, they're going to school, that is important because you know, in their mind, they just see the car as the price and that's it. Well, you know, I could pay for the car. Well, what about that? Well, okay, let's write down all the other things that go along with it. Like you said, insurance, how much is insurance? Why don't we call the insurance company together and you find out what your insurance is going to cost because it's definitely higher than ours, right? We've gas, we have maintenance, we have all those things to go along with it. And it's important for them to see that, you know, their purchases also, some of them come along with other expenses that maybe they didn't even know about.
And challenge them. Possibly it's cheaper to do Uber for 6 months than to buy a car. And we have this running joke in the house that my son is driving, and if you really have to go out and buy a car and pay $400 a month for a lease and pay for gas and pay for insurance, the comfort of that is you can go whenever you want. But it might be better off for you to do Uber and pay $6 or $8 every time. That hurts also, but do a cost benefit analysis with them. See what happens. Is it cheaper to Uber for 6 months or to buy a car for 6 months? Because at the end of 6 months, we never think about this. Your car's gonna have wear and tear. You're gonna have to change the tires. You're gonna have to do an oil change. The car depreciates and loses money. So there's a lot of things that go into it than just saying, hey, this is what it cost me, that's what it cost me. Obviously, you know, buying a home, buying a car, they do make you feel better. So how you feel in life affects a lot of times what you do in life. So we can't overlook that component, but that's something just as an example, just to fool around with kids.
So before we were talking about the cash and the jars and all, you know, back that, you know, years ago when we had more cash in general, you know, even birthday parties, you get cash in the card and all that stuff. You know, nowadays, no, everyone's getting gift cards and all this stuff. And I feel like the kids are missing out on the meaning of money and the actual physical feeling, you know, to see it instead of now everything's credit card, you know, even Amazon, or you put the gift card on Amazon and all of a sudden you're buying stuff. So it just, money is it's almost like not real in a sense for the kids. And so it kind of worries me a little bit because they're not, the little guys aren't really noticing money the same as the older kids.
You know how you counterbalance that?
Yes. No, that's why I'm asking.
You counterbalance that by playing Monopoly, and not the Monopoly with credit cards, but the Monopoly with money, because they'll see that when they land on a property, they've got money saved. They can buy that property with cash, and then they can even mortgage that property and get money from the bank as a mortgage to buy other properties. So they're leveraging their assets to buy more, and it's just a cash feeling. And it's that's a great way to introduce them and to let them to play. And the other game I would play is, you know, the Rich Dad Poor Dad, the cash flow game. That is a great game because it has cash in it. It has a balance sheet. It has an income statement. They can understand how to read those. That's really important. Those are two games that I would definitely play with my children. The next one is create a personal financial statement with your kids. I just started doing this with my son, who's 17 years old, and he came back from college. He said, Dad, I need to do this. And I said, okay, let's create your personal financial statement. You have a couple stocks. Let's put that. You have a savings account. You have a checking account, because he was doing assets, liabilities, assets minus liabilities equals net worth. So I said, let's get your net worth. And he understood, wow, I've got a property I've got to put there. Do you have any liabilities, Mike? No, but you do have other assets. You have your guitars. They're worth something. And he's like, Dad, I bought my amp for $1,500. That's what it's worth. I said, Michael, to you, it's worth $1,500. What is the reality of you selling it? He goes, well, I think I can get it. I said, I would probably say you bought it for $1,500. You could probably get $1,000 on eBay at tops. So let's focus on that. So he's got guitars on there. He's got an amp on there. So those are all of his assets. He fortunately has zero liabilities. So that's his net worth. And every time he works, his assets go up because his checking account goes up and he inputs money. So he's doing that every month, and every 2 weeks when he gets paid, he puts it in his payment. So he's creating that personal financial statement, and that's his report card for the banker. That's what important. That's what Rich Dad Poor Dad says. That's your report card, your personal financial statement. Anything to add to that?
No.
The next one is create the balance sheet and a statement of cash flows. That comes right off the personal financial statement. Like I said, his balance sheet is everything that he owns. His cash in the bank. He's got his liabilities. He has no liabilities. He's got, you know, whatever he owns, all his personal assets. Create that balance sheet with him and update it as you keep going on. And I think the last one is to create a budget. I mean, my children typically don't have a lot to budget, but you know, when they do, you want them to be able to calculate their expenditures, what they spend. So to see the power of it, okay, I had to spend $100 on this guitar that I wanted to buy. Let them do that, and create a budget for your house if you haven't done it, and let them see what the monthly budget is and how much you're spending on everything. And then you'll be amazed at how much you're spending yourself. You're like, wow, I didn't know I spent this much on groceries. I didn't know my cell phone bill was $200 a month. I didn't know my cable for the house was $180 a month. I didn't know all these expenses added up, and they'll really see at the end of the month, wow, you really need to make money to run a home.
Sure. No, and it's important too, like I said, to do it together. Because unfortunately in our family, my husband is he's all about that. And I really don't half the time know even what he makes for a living. I don't even know what he does for a living, but I don't know what he makes in a year. So, but it's important to get together and show the kids, okay, these are what the bills are. Because like he said, half the time, no one knows what the cell phone costs. You know, everyone wants another cell phone, right? As the kids get older, everyone wants a cell phone. It's like, well, do you know how much it is a month to add you on for just to be home, to be able to call someone, you know? So it's important for them to see the bills and to see what everything costs. Even the groceries, going to the store and buying the groceries together. I think that's super important for them because it's just a life lesson.
So as we've been talking, I hope you've been creating a picture for yourself, seeing how you can start introducing these concepts to your children. I want to discuss the 3 classes of wealth creation. And then on the next podcast, we're going to talk about the richest man in Babylon. We're going to talk about the 3 types of income. We're going to talk about setting money goals. We're going to talk about also some things that Dave Ramsey talked about, how you can start with your children, about setting up emergency funds. Maybe if you haven't done it, you can apply it to yourself, 3 to 6 months of a savings program. We're going to discuss that on the next podcast. But for now, just real quick, the 3 classes of wealth creation that you can teach your children. The first one is stocks and bonds, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. That's the first class. The next class is businesses. Have you created a business? Are you investing in a business? And the third one is real estate. Those are the 3 classes of wealth creation. You can dive into each one of them. I would start with stocks and bonds. Just start looking at the newspaper, start going online, start doing some low-level reading. You'll enjoy it. What would you like to say about it?
Seriously?
Okay.
I don't know anything about it, so this is really awkward.
You know, you're going to start doing it with us.
You gotta learn.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I love to talk about this stuff. I think it's important. I want to empower my children. I want them to be responsible with money. I want them not to be.
Well, being responsible is super important. I thought you were talking about stocks and bonds.
No.
Oh, okay. So that got me confused.
Well, honestly, stocks and bonds nowadays, I try to gravitate away from them because I have no control. To me, an investment where I make an investment, I want to have control with it. And I don't have control with stocks and bonds anymore because it's more program trading. It's more quarterly. And I don't really know what companies are doing. If the CEO of a company wants to do something, I have no control of it. But with our apartment communities, I can raise the rents. I can sell a property. I can refinance a property. So the way I look at investments is a lot different than I did 10 years ago. So that's really what we're going to discuss in the next show. Yeah. How do you want to wrap this up, Julie?
I think it was a great podcast. You have such good information. So much to teach other families about money and how we're teaching our children to be responsible. Because I think that's really what it comes down to. And remember, they are watching us and we are the example. So it's important. We can teach them anything we want, but when we're not living up to it, then they know that.
That is so important what you just said. I always had the problem with my family and the way we were always spoken to about money. It was never a fear of money. But just be careful, because if you say negative things about money, like money doesn't grow on trees, or what do you think, I'm made of money? That's going to turn your child off. It's going to do one of 2 things. They're either going to hate you for saying, not hate you, but they're going to hate the idea of money and they're going to tie away from it. Or what they're going to do is they're going to work really hard and make as much money as possible. And then they're going to have a negative about money because
that's important, not to have a negative view. Because I have to say that growing up in my family, a lot of people I knew just saw it as evil and wrong, and you should never have a lot of money because you wouldn't be a good person. But like I said, when you do make a lot of money, the real you comes out, because you're either going to do all great for everybody responsibly, because we've seen both ways, or you're going to be that jerk. You're going to be that flashy jerk. And some people want to be like that. There's nothing, that's fine. But it really does bring out the you.
I'm going to leave everybody with this thought, and this has really resonated with me over the past few years. The way you think about money, it's the way you're either going to attract or repel it. If you see somebody who's making a lot of money and you're jealous of that person, or you say, well, I don't really care about it, unfortunately, you're never going to make that money. If you can embrace that person and say to that person, most people are not trust fund babies. Most people will work really hard for the money of what they've earned. Right. If you can tell that person, that's awesome. You deserve the Lamborghini. I want to get to where you are. Chances are you're going to have a much better success of attracting money. You attract what you want and you attract what you think positively. If you're always out there saying, you know what, I don't care about money. I don't want it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's something wrong. I just want you to be aware.
You just want to have a healthy
and
view
be conscious of your thoughts.
Right.
And money's not evil. Money is just the vehicle. Like I say, multifamily. Multifamily is just the vehicle to get you from point A to point B. So think of money as that. Money is just allowing us to live in society right now. We all need it to get by. We all need it to pay our bills. We all need it to send our kids to college. We all need it to pay for the groceries. If you have a more healthy and positive outlook on it, you're going to be able to attract more. So looking forward to next podcast, which is going to dive more deeper into some of the fundamentals. I don't think my wife is really smiling.
He told me it was going to be a 2-part. And I thought, oh, okay.
I can make this a 5-part, but I don't want her to suffer through it.
It's
but
okay.
it's just, it's important because I think the kids and
it's
being
super
able to speak about it. I want to open up with
Definitely.
some more questions. So I'm going to task my wife for the next podcast. What are some more questions about money that we can talk about and we can discuss with the listeners and have them really empowering, really thought-provoking questions about money and how they've looked at money. Now, if anyone out there wants any information on life coaching, just click on a link down below or just email Julia at juliabarbaro@gmail.com. If you want to have any life coaching sheets sent to you, or you want to start up a strategy session with Julia, just reach out to her because really money is a great subject with life coaching because there's a lot of energy around it. And we've been around people our entire lives who we're adopting their money blueprint. And we don't even know it subconsciously. I always tell people I had one restaurant for 25 years. Once I started investing with Jake, I own and control over 1,500 apartment units in less than 6 years. That makes no sense. Nothing changed in me other than my thought about money and my thought about growing. From one aspect of we have to stay small, we can't take a lot of risk, to another aspect of it's not about risk. It's about scaling. It's about being responsible. It's about growing a business. So it really is all about the people you surround yourself with, and it's all about the thoughts, the limiting beliefs that you have. So if you need to work on that and you want some information on life coaching, just hit Julia up at juliabarbaro@gmail.com. Julia, thanks.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.